My name is Kevin Baker. I'm an organizer with March Forward and a member with the PSL. When I returned from Iraq, I was confused about what our role was there. I felt disappointed, isolated, and the military does a really good job of confusing soldiers. It tells you that it's not normal to feel guilty. It's cognitive behavior. You had a job to do, and that's it. Well, I felt that way, and I felt alone for a very long time. And only through the work of March Forward, which is an organization of active duty service members and vets, that reached out to me while I was on active duty, did I realize that I wasn't in the minority of feeling this way. That tens of thousands of U.S. service members on active duty and veterans also felt the same way. This brings me to the next point on why it's imperative that we organize within the ranks of the military. If we know that there's tens of thousands of soldiers that feel guilty and are depressed and feel in isolation, we have an obligation within March Forward and within the community within the United States to reach out to our brothers and sisters, our working brothers and sisters in uniform. We have an obligation to raise their consciousness and explain to them what these wars mean, what imperialism is. It's very interesting when you approach soldiers and begin asking them how they feel about Iraq and Afghanistan. Just recently, I've been out for a little over almost a year, and there are soldiers that were coming into the military. They couldn't point Iraq out on a map. They couldn't tell you why we invaded Iraq. This is a very disturbing fact that you have hundreds of thousands of poor working people joining the military. I've been asked several times, well, you joined the military, you knew what you were getting into. There's no draft, but that's not true. There is a draft. There's an economic draft. There's a war that's being waged right here at home against poor and working people. It's being waged by the U.S. military. We understand that a lot of workers join the military because they want a job, they want health care, they want security. You have families that have been laid off because of the economic crisis that's been created by the wealth of this nation. Our job is to reach out to those people that fell for the trap and joined the military and pull them out. We can go over something very disturbing that's happening in Afghanistan right now. In August this year, there was over 300 U.S. deaths. 300 U.S. service members died in 1 month of Afghanistan. That's with this government telling us that the wars are winding down. 2/3 of American people no longer agree with these occupations. 80% of service members have had a friend or have been present when one of their service members and comrades was wounded or killed. We know that the former CIA director, Leon Panetta, openly admitted that there's between 50 and 100 al-Qaeda personnel actively functioning in Afghanistan. This is the reason why we invaded and continue to occupy Afghanistan for almost over a decade now. We recognize that service members have a right to refuse these illegal and immoral obligations to Iraq and Afghanistan. But the threat in Afghanistan and Iraq, as it is not the greatest threat facing service members. The greatest threat facing service members is their own officer corps. We know that by the Army Times statistics, this is the U.S. military's newspaper, that 950 of our working brothers and sisters in uniform every single month attempt to take their lives. This is active duty and non-active duty and veterans from all wars. We know that at a rate of 18 per day, they're successful. Why is there a massive suicide epidemic within the military? And what is the military doing about it? Well, one, there's a massive suicide epidemic within the military because we deploy to these occupations and these wars and we can't justify why we're participating in them. And we come back feeling guilty. Two, we recognize that the U.S. military and this government does not care about its service members. Tens of thousands of active duty people suffer from PTSD, TBI, and major depression. The fact that they're being denied the tiered month and given substandard treatment is all an act of denial by the officer corps for these service members to seek help. The way that the military medical system is set up, it's not designed to help people. It's designed to fill them with pills and then send them on their next deployment. We know very well that the officer corps, which comes from a background of excessive privilege, is generally class conscious, and looks down on enlisted personnel. We know that they don't value our lives. As a matter of fact, we have a quote from one of our executive officers who regarded soldiers as expendable labor. When soldiers seek help through the military medical system, they're denied it by the officers. This is metaphorically equivalent to a soldier that is hit with an IED blast or hit with a suicide bomber in Iraq and Afghanistan and denied access to medical health care on the battlefield. What the officers and what the military healthcare system are doing to these soldiers is metaphorically equivalent to denying a soldier who is bleeding to death a tourniquet by denying them the right to heal. So what did we do in response to this? In response to this tragedy in March Forward? We began organizing with active duty service members, vets, and their family. Just briefly, I'll explain something that we've done that has gained international notoriety within the community. And that's when we went to Fort Lewis. We held a press conference for a soldier that I was in Iraq with my second time, who after attempting to take his own life multiple times, was successful by hanging himself in a closet. We had a discussion panel involving his mother, of active duty service members, of vets. We accused the U.S. military of murder at its gates on Fort Lewis, which is known to have the most suicides within the military this year. We recognize that by organizing within the active duty, this is the only way to bring about real change. That the officers, that this government is not going to listen to its service members. The only way to bring about real change is to continue to organize internally. We have members as far as Baghdad who have taken out the bolts of their weapons, rendering them useless. If we want these criminal wars to end, we have to attack the U.S. military and this government at all angles. Organizing within the U.S. military is a vital role to ending these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. I hope all of you come out and get involved. Thank you very much for coming.